One of the greatest concerns in recent times has been the introduction of this Patriotic Act in Zimbabwe, which ultimately seeks to legislate against people who criticize and who say bad things about the Zimbabwean state. If you try to legislate the public relations of Zimbabwe, you don't legislate to solve the problems of Zimbabwe. And they're myriad, whether they're economic, failure to deliver services, not following your own rules, having illegitimate elections. These are the real problems that Zimbabwe has, which they need to solve. It is of no use to prosecute people simply because they criticize, simply because they have an opinion. The unfortunate thing about this is that by legislating such, or by introducing such legislation into Zimbabwe, it really curbs fundamental human rights of the people of Zimbabwe. For example, freedom of expression, freedom of association, and ultimately people's freedoms to basically be in opposition to the government. We've seen similar such legislation like the Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act, which was famously introduced under the Mugabe administration by Jonathan Moyo, which sought also to limit people's rights to express themselves and to associate. And similarly, the Public Order and Security Act in Zimbabwe, which unfortunately limited people's ability to really associate, to associate, to converge, and to meet, sometimes in opposition to the governing Zanu-PF. Such legislation is indicative of a continuing trend in Zimbabwe, where rule by law has been the way in which the governing Zanu-PF has stayed in power and not really ensuring that the rules of Zimbabwe are in the interest of the citizen, that the rules in Zimbabwe are in the interest of enhancing democratic practice and the human rights of the people of that country. The most patriotic thing that you can do is to dissent, is to disagree, is to oppose, because sometimes the legislative instruments, the rules that are introduced by governments are in and of themselves illegitimate.